Good evening, everyone. How are you guys tonight? Hope everyone's doing great. It is Thursday night. You guys are live here on the Dixie Belle Paint Facebook page and the Brushed by Brandy YouTube page. And my name is Brandy. I'm a Dixie Belle Paint brand ambassador, and I paint here live with you guys every Thursday evening. So we are going to paint tonight. My husband Sean is here to answer any questions as we go, you guys. So go ahead and pop on, ask any questions that you may have. Whatever I can't get to on the live broadcast, I will go back through and reread and answer you guys after we're done here tonight. So what we're working on tonight is going to be this this cute little chest here. And it's got what it's got on it. Let me tell you a little bit about how I prepared it so I can let you know how we got where we are right now. I cleaned this really well. It was this sort of amber wood finish, if you can see down to the legs. They're kind of this orangey wood tone. It's really going.
Okay. Oh, it's on me. You gotta flip it. There, huh?
Just gotta start pushing on.
There we just start pushing. I'm good at that. Just not,
All right, guys. I'm sorry about that. So this chest that we have here, I started out by cleaning it really well with Dixie Belle White Lightning. It was a bleeder, okay? The next thing I did is I gave it a single coat, just one coat of Dixie Belle Coffee Bean. Now, the reason I gave it some coffee bean is because I'm thinking about what my final look is going to be. I want this to show through from underneath my paint finish. So this is not going to be a color you really see. I actually wanted this to look like it was dark wood underneath for contrast, okay? So if you had a dark wood finish that you were already starting with, you could start with the existing dark wood. Mine was this really amber orangey color, so I needed to make it look like dark wood peeking through. So I went ahead and put a coat of coffee bean on it. And then next I coated the entire thing in shellac. Okay, shellac is not normally what you want to use for clear coat on your furniture. The reason is it has a high tendency of yellowing. It's nasty, it smells like chemicals. It's not a great thing except it for function. The reason I put shellac on here tonight is because I'm going to add a textured finish with a texture tool, and I want my texture tool to be able to glide over the top of this paint. And with just the coffee bean, it's really kind of dry, kind of chalky, kind of matte, and that texture tool would not glide as well. So I coated it in shellac just so I can move over the top of this surface, and my texture tool will not stick against it.
I just like to say shellac. It's just one of those words that has a slap in it.
Shellac. Shellacking. So let me show you guys kind of my inspiration. So we're going for, I've done this finish before on camera, but I did it on just a sample board. So we're going to do it tonight on an actual furniture piece. So let me show you guys the actual texture of the burlap, so you can kind of get an idea where we're going with our textured finish. So you see it has kind of a cross hatching woven texture. The color is very much a burlap color. So Dixie Belle Burlap, Dixie Belle has a paint color called Burlap, is the color of, anyone? Burlap. It's spot on, you guys. So it's really easy for me to pick my color choice when I'm going for burlap texture. I'm going to use Burlap. And I'll have my base of the coffee bean peeking through. That'll be kind of the dark, burlap's a very natural woven texture, so it's got a very inconsistent weave to it, and that's what we're going to go for tonight. Let me throw that aside. Let's go ahead and get started with our paint finish. And then I'm also going to, I think we'll have time tonight, but I'm going to go ahead and darken these legs. So I'm going to have I'm starting out with a dark color here, and my legs are lighter. Where we're going to end tonight is we're going to end with a light finish here and darker legs.
So what you're saying is you've got tan lines.
What I'm saying is we're doing nothing that it looks like we're doing right now. Okay, so the texture tool that I'm going to use is this texture tool right here. This little triangle, you guys, comes with the Dixie Belle Paint wood graining tool. So in the package, you get the actual wood graining tool, which I should have brought out with me. Do you want to run to this drawer right here, right behind me?
Is it really running if it's like 3 feet?
Yeah, I just walk slowly. I don't want you to hurt yourself. Don't break a sweat.
Oh, I won't do that.
Just right here. And the very top drawer is the orange. It's kind of orange.
One? I know what it looks like.
It looks roughly orange like this. Like this.
You give me limited, I
know.
Limited space.
Okay, so this is let me show you. This is the head of the wood graining tool. Yeah. We'll take it. This is as close as you get. So it comes
That's all you get. Here you go. You got a little more.
Okay. the package comes with, here's what you get in the full package with the wood grating tool. You get the small head, you get the big head, the handle, which you can attach to either one of these heads. Okay, so those come with it. And then you get this texture tool. And I feel like this is like overlooked. You throw this in a drawer and forget you have it, but it's a really cool little tool. So we're gonna use it tonight.
So really quick, when you're dealing with your shellacs, what shade, color?
So shellac comes, it dries to a clear, but it's a yellowy, it's an amber clear. It's not a pure clear. And I just use a spray shellac. I don't like the product, guys. It's pretty nasty stuff. I only use it when I have to. You know, Dixie Belle Boss will do the stain and odor blocking that shellac also does, and it goes on much nicer, but Dixie Belle Boss dries to a matte finish, so that would not have worked here. I maybe could have used one of the Dixie Belle clear coats over the top of this since I just wanted to make a smooth surface, but shellac dries in 10 minutes and I needed a quicker dry time. So, and I'm going to put water on here, and I was worried about reactivating my clear coat with not enough dry time and then putting water on top of it and paint. So we went with the safe choice tonight, which was shellac. Okay, so I'm going to take my burlap paint. Now the paint itself, Dixie Belle paint in the cold, and it's cold right now, can thicken up itself a little bit, but I want to thicken this even a bit more. And this is not a full container of paint. So what I'm going to take is I'm going to take a little bit of sea spray. Sea spray is a texture additive. So I'm going for a textured finish with my texture tool. Is there, you guys here see a theme tonight? We're doing texture. So I'm going to add a little bit of sea spray. Sea spray is a texture additive. It's a powder.
So Cindy, yes, we won't necessarily always answer the questions right out of the gate, but you will get the answer if we keep going.
Yeah, so that's your answer right there. Yeah, we're going to cover a lot, so it may may not have gotten there yet. So I'm going to add a little bit of sea spray to my paint just to thicken it up because I want my paint to actually stand up and give me a little bit of texture. So when I add sea spray to my paint, I start with very little, you guys. I can always add more, but I can't take it away. Okay, one more thing. Can you go?
Oh, this is it. There's a walkout going on.
Guys, I'm using all my favors for like the next 6 months with this. Can you give me one of my spatulas out of there?
That's not gonna work.
Spoon.
You want a what?
Spatula.
You want a spoon?
Okay, so I just added a little bit of my sea spray into my paint. I'm mixing it in this container because it's not a full container of paint already. If you were just going to use a little bit of your paint, you could pour it into a separate bowl, but there's very little paint in here. It's almost an empty container anyways. I'm going to use the rest of it on this piece. So I'm going to mix it right into my Dixie Belle paint container.
What happens if it's too thick and you want to thin it?
You can use water. You can thin it back out with water. So Dixie Belle is a water-based paint, so it's friendly to water. So you can use water to thin the paint. And that's an important thing to know because even just as we're going into winter and sometimes your paint thickens up just from temperature and you may need to add a little bit of water just to get it to the consistency you want. But it's a water-based paint, so it's totally friendly to water. Okay, the more you stir sea spray, the finer it's going to get. So if you want thick, chunky, lumpy clumps in there, you just stir it less. I want mine to be fairly fine, so I'm going to stir it a little bit more. I just want it to mix in and make my paint thicker, but I don't actually want the clumps and chunks and all that stuff. Okay, so this is kind of where I landed. Can you see it's not as runny as the paint is by itself?
It's like a natural peanut butter.
Yeah, the stuff from the Whole Foods store that my kids would complain about. Man, we used to get that stuff. Story time. We used to get that stuff when I was a kid. We used to get food from the food line, and they gave you all the stuff that you don't want to eat, you know. So we'd get the peanut butter, the natural peanut butter. So as a kid, that's what I grew up on. Powdered milk. We got powdered milk, which by the way tastes nothing like milk.
What?
Yeah, they're absolutely lying.
Lies.
Okay, I'm gonna use my Dixie Belle mini brush to put this put on my burlap and sea spray mixture, and Sean's gonna come in and get up close with you guys. So I'm gonna focus on kind of a small area at a time. Can you see this area right here?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm thinking we'll start with this area right here, and we'll go ahead and texture it, and then I'll move on because my paint's gonna start to set up faster with the sea spray mixed into it.
Oh, Cindy, yes, the nasty blocks of cheese. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the cheese. We got all the cheese.
Oh man.
All the cheese, like beans, like in a bag, you know, like just beans.
Basically the stuff that we do not eat now.
Yeah. So anytime there's like a food drive or anywhere or anything somewhere, I try to not give them the stuff that they don't want to eat and give them the stuff they actually really do want to eat. You know? Okay, so I'm adding this paint on. I'm adding it on a little thick, a little heavy. This is a textured finish. Now I don't want it clumpy in my crevices, so I'm going to keep those pretty clean. If your paint starts to set up, because remember this is thickened paint, it's going to start setting up a little faster. Just give it a little mist of water because we need it to stay in play.
Huh.
Don't go home, stay in play.
Interesting. Apparently I'm being subbed out for fixing sprinklers.
Oh yeah, I did do that.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you.
I just want to say thank you, but not really.
I forgot to tell you about that. So when you're putting this paint on right here, it doesn't have to be smooth and brush stroke free or anything like that. I did not even sand the shellac and the paint finish underneath because I wanted to catch all this little texture that was in the wood grain, that was in my paint, because I'm going for texture. So I don't want to get rid of it. And then I'm going to take my texture tool. It's got 3 different ones here. And let me show you first what textures you get with them, with the different ends on it. So you've got one that's got wider teeth. This one's got sharper teeth, but they're further apart. And then this one's got sharp teeth, but close together. Okay, so this is the sharp teeth, but further apart. Can you guys see that? You get kind of a stripy effect. And you can keep going over it. You know, if you want to get them closer together.
Sorry, guys. Because I don't want to exclude anyone from the party.
Okay, so that's the sharper teeth that are wider apart. This is going to be the kind of rounded teeth on it. And again, you can keep going over it to get more texture in there. And then let's go to our fine teeth. So you can kind of see. And then watch what happens when you go the opposite direction. You get a woven texture. And you can do that with all 3 of these ends, depending on how thick or thin you want your weave to look. So that's 3 ends of the same tool that give you different looks. I kind of like this here, I think. A little bit of this one, but I don't think we're going to use this as much. So let me brush this back out. Now that you guys have kind of seen the different textures you can get, I'm just going to brush it right back out. So that's the other good thing. If you're playing with the texture tool and you totally don't like where you're going or you use the wrong end, add a little bit of water to it, brush it right back out, and you're back to your clean paint finish again. Okay, one more thing.
Oh, this is it.
Can you get me a rag?
I knew I should have done a walkout.
Okay.
Like a sock?
No,
Or
like a
rag.
shirt.
What?
That one you're wearing, okay.
Here, hold on. Okay, here you
The
go.
reason I'm asking for a rag, you guys, is because the paint starts to build up in the tool as I'm going. I'm going to need to wipe it out periodically, so I'm just going to go like this and clean my tool off a little bit, because otherwise I'm going to start getting gummed up in my lines. I'm going to start with this kind of rounded edge here. Can you guys now see where my dark paint underneath comes into play? And where if I had left it the original wood tone, I would end up with an orangey tone peeking through here. And I want this textured finish, only I don't want it to look like a perfect checkerboard pattern. Burlap is not a perfect checkerboard pattern. So I'm running it in the opposite direction by overlapping. So I'm going to go over it a few times.
Sorry, guys. Let me adjust this.
Okay, can you guys kind of see how that looks? Can you see the texture on camera? Okay, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do this really small area. I'm just going to work it kind of small. I've switched and I'm using the sharper pointed teeth. Let me clean these guys off so you can see them better. Okay, and then I'm going to open my drawer so that I can run it along the edge here because I've got this molding, so I need to open the drawer. You could take your drawers out if you need to. And I'm gonna overlap it again so that it doesn't look so perfect. I think I might try to get like a 45-degree angle here. I think I can do it.
Oh man.
I know.
Precision.
I'm going to do a little bit on my molding just so my wood peeks through. I'm going to come back and give myself a little bit more. Now I'm going to do this twice on this piece, okay? And there are going to be spots when I come back and do my next coat where I let a little bit more of my dark color peek through. And then another idea I had was even to take some pine cone, Dixie Belle pine cone, which is a warmer brown color, and streak this in a little bit too. So let me show you where I was thinking with that. Now I could do it, we'll try it a different way over here, but I'm going to go ahead and streak this in now and just give myself a little bit of, you know, the woven colors that are in burlap. It's not, there's some darker strands, some lighter.
Anybody over there on the YouTube?
Yeah, they love that. They're not answering you, by the way.
Let me know if you can see this. I'm like a few inches away from the piece, so I'm hoping it comes out well.
Okay, so I just streaked in. I just used a chip brush, just a really cheap chip brush. And I love chip brushes for texture because they do not lay on a smooth finish. That's for darn sure, but they do texture really well. Chip brushes are just cheap, inexpensive, disposable brushes with a natural bristle on them. So I just streaked in some of my pine cone, and now I can kind of do my texture. And then I've got even another color in there too.
Oh man, all these lines and colors starts to mess with the lens.
Oh, does it? Yeah. Always a problem on camera.
Over on the book.
You're totally losing my audience right now.
Isn't that what the cool people say?
So I like this right here. So what I see is I've got this spot that's got heavier on the dark wood peeking through, and I want to get that. I like that. So some areas I would just go through and press the tool down a little bit harder. I'm just going to swipe this lip up here because it's getting kind of chunky with my texture. Let me clean my texture tool out. I do like it with the pine cone streaked in. So I think I'm going to incorporate that as we do our next go. Looks a little messy. That's okay. If I end up with any spots that are, I can sand them out. There, that's better. It wants to gather in this little crevice right under this molding. All right, so I like that right there.
Oh, Brandy said that's something. It sounds like her dad would say.
But...
Carla's with me? The book? Come on now.
I don't think she meant that as a compliment.
No?
Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my chip brush and just streak in a little bit of this pine cone just to give me some more variation in my texture. So you guys, like I said, I've done this look on camera before, so you can see the next steps to it on my Facebook page, or on my YouTube channel, I'm sorry. I have a video showing the next steps because we aren't going to get to the full thing tonight. But basically it ends with dark waxes, and it picks up the crevice in this burlap texture. The dark wax picks up all the crevices in here. So I streaked in a little burlap down below. Now I'm just going back through it with my texture tool. Going horizontal and vertical so I get that nice woven look. If you pull my drawer out. And you'll kind of learn as you go. And then like I showed you in the beginning, if you're not liking what it looks like. So my paint has started to set up down here, and I still need it to stay in place. So I'm going to, I added a little spritz of water, and I'm going to brush it back out again so that I can still texturize it. Sorry, am I working down too low?
Yes.
We'll go up to the top drawer next, and then you won't have to. So I just added a little bit of water to reactivate my paint, but that's why you want to work in small areas. Does not have to be even or perfect or consistent or anything, because the texture of burlap is anything but even and consistent. And this will have, I'm going to add some sunflowers to this. It's going to be very fall-like. So this burlap texture will make sense. I really love this section right here. And I feel like it's because it's set up a little bit more before I ran my tool through it. I'm actually going to try to get this one to match a little bit better. So I'm just going to brush it back out. There's a little bit of paint on my brush. Give myself a little bit of water. because I'm really feeling like this is where I want to go, and I want this one to match it now. Little bit of water, brush it right back out. There's a little bit of paint on my brush. And then I can streak back my burlap back, or streak back my pine cone back in. See how that chip brush just gives you kind of wispy little streaks in your paint? Those are my woven fibers. And then I'll do it up here at the top too. Got a little brush hair in there. Let me pick that out. Okay. And let's do our texture again. So same thing. Yeah, okay, so I like it a little bit after letting the paint set up a little bit more. It resists the scratching of the texture tool in some spots and gives you a little bit more inconsistency, which I really like. Let me wipe my tool out. It's getting a little gummed up. You may even need to take it over to the sink and actually rinse it out sometimes too. Just making sure anywhere that, you know, that everywhere kind of has that woven feel and look to it. Now I feel like when that dries up, it's going to match pretty good. Let me pull this drawer back out, and we'll do up around here. So I did horizontal and then coming back with my vertical. I'm using the finest side of this tool.
So you got burlap, and what other color are you working with?
Burlap and pine cone over a base of coffee bean. Coffee bean is the dark that's kind of peeking through my paint at this point. So it looks like if you had dark wood on your piece, the dark wood would have worked for the base that's peeking through. Okay, so do you prefer if I come up here?
Yes.
Do you prefer if I go over here?
Probably at the top drawer.
Top drawer? Okay, let's go ahead and do this top drawer. And this will be a good example too to show you guys how to get around some of these moldings too, because I do want it to fully cover everywhere, even though I'm using texture. I'm going to pull my drawer out a little bit. This is my thickened paint. So my burlap paint, just my burlap paint, I thickened with a little bit of sea spray. And that's because I want it to raise up and give me some texture under that texture tool. But it also means my paint sets up a little bit faster. So just use a little bit of water where you need to. So I'm just brushing on a coat that's got brush strokes in it. It's thicker in some spots, thinner in others. Like this is your dream finish, right? Because you don't have to worry about all those brush strokes and things. And then I'm taking a little bit of pine cone on my chip brush. And my apologies to pine cone tonight because it's probably the color I say that I'll never use the most. I probably make fun of pine cone the most. But it actually does good for like faux wood finishes, and this burlap look, you kind of need it. So I'm apologizing publicly to pine cone for destroying its reputation and then taking advantage of it. Okay, and I'm going to do here on my drawer front, scratching through my paint. Let's go this way a little bit. Now I'm actually gonna, I think, let this set up for a minute. Because remember what I told you on this down here that I liked the effect when the paint had set up a little bit more. I'm gonna let it set up for a minute. While I do that, let's come over here and I'll brush this drawer at the same time and we'll do both of these. We'll just do half because I don't want to get too large of an area because the paint does start to set up.
I tell you what, I want you to take your little scooter and scoot over a little bit.
Is my giant nog in the way?
The YouTubers in a little close because...
Yeah, I mean, the textured finishes are really one thing that's hard to show on camera. You guys, if you are watching this on YouTube or even on Facebook, I always post these finished pieces to my Facebook page and my Instagram page. So usually about a week after I finish them on camera is when you can see them on my pages posted. And the still shots capture all the detail like you can't get on camera, especially on a live feed. Okay, so I just did this little section too, and that gave this paint over here a little tiny chance to set up, not too much. And then I'm just using the small teeth on my texture tool and I'm running it through the paint. First I did horizontally and you can go back over it. And then I'm coming back vertically and just scratching through that paint. And that gives me that woven look. Okay, and then up here, I'm gonna just do these small areas, little bits at a time. And I'm gonna get around all these moldings.
Oh, I'm sorry, was I in your way?
Yeah, can you please move? I need to open my drawer a little bit more. So I'm gonna pull my drawer out a little bit. So
That's what they want right there.
But you guys, my paint has set up so it's a little bit resistant in some spots, and I like that better. So that would be my suggestion for improvement would be let your paint set up for just a minute. I mean, it was only long enough that I could brush this over here. And I'm going back through it a couple times.
Oh, you just had to hit.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm trying to paint for you guys. I'm really sorry about that. And then I'm even going to come and I'm going to scratch at this little molding right here just a little bit. I know my big hand is going to get right in the way. Just so it looks consistent with the rest of my finish, I'll scratch kind of around here. Now, ultimately, when I'm doing this finish, I'm going to come and put dark wax in the crevices, and it's also going to find some of these crevices in my texture. Can't see over here really well. No, I'm sorry. So once it's set up, I can come back and kind of mess it up a little bit so it doesn't have like perfect lines in it. So once the dark wax gets in there and finds those crevices, it really starts to make sense. Did I mention this will have sunflowers on it? It's a very fall look. But,
so weird.
But very warm, very homey, very, okay, so let's see if my paint is still dry enough or wet enough over here that I can do this piece. Yes. Yes. Pull this drawer out.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna pull my drawer out and same thing. I'm gonna get around these moldings as best as I can. In here, some of these areas I may need to kind of maneuver my tool. These tips.
So that even though it has the teeth, it's a little flexible to get in.
It is because it's made of silicone, so it's bendy. It's bendy, like a little gymnast. Can they see over here? I feel like they're not even looking at us. They're not even paying attention to me.
It's because it's hard to see from far away like that. You can't see that texture.
And once this is shaded with the waxes, it will kind of take away from any imperfections that are around it being a molded surface.
All right, guys.
I do like the paint setting up a little bit before I scratch through it. I really like that. I don't like this spot right here. Got a little chewed up. I'm going to fix that. I'm just going to put my paint back on and then I can retexturize it. I'll let these bendy teeth get in there and then kind of scratch that away.
Kind of needs a dental plan.
So this would probably be, you know, an easier look on piece. You know, if your piece was really ornate with tons of molding, it's going to be more challenging. Now come do the rest of this drawer right here.
Yeah, your stuff's kind of in my way.
Well, get ready because next we're going low. I just want to prepare you. Do you need to stretch? You want to do some stretches? Some lunges? Everybody, you can prepare yourselves. We'll do brush
turn everything off.
Brush by Brandy yoga.
Walk away.
Probably need that more than I need painting. I really love the front of these drawers. I'm excited to finish out the rest of these over here because I really love, now that this is drying, the first part we did on the big drawers down below.
So your graining tool.
Yes.
Where did you get that?
From Dixie Belle. You guys, it's on. So the link I put up in the post. The link I put in the post to Dixie Belle Paint, they carry this wood graining tool. It comes with the 3 pieces with the actual graining tool itself. And I love this graining tool too. I use this all the time. So now I'm showing you how to use this little triangle tool that comes with it. I broke my own rule, you guys, and I started texturizing this before it has set up a little bit, and I don't like it as much. So I'm going to let that hang out. Let's come down here and do this piece.
Oh man, I'm not really doing so good.
Let's do this molding right here too.
Do all this low stuff.
Making you nervous? Are you sweating bullets over there? If you, when this is all dry, you guys, if you have areas that are more textured than others, I'm going to run a fine sanding sponge over this and just knock down those really high points. So then I can come back and just put the waxes on top of this. Okay, so that was my burlap with a little bit of sea spray mixed in. And now I'm using a chip brush and just streaking in some of my pine cone. Does not have to be even. That's just to give me a little bit of variation in my texture. And then let's see, this has set up a minute now. So let's come up here and run my tool through this.
Ooh, so how's that sea spray work for your brush? Does it harm your brush?
It will kind of start getting your brushes gunky. So if I'm being really hard on them, so right now it's not bad. That's my brush. Still totally washable. They don't recommend that you rinse sea spray down your sinks because it can gum up in the pipes. It's a thickening product, guys. So I have a gravel pit outside of my house to rinse out stuff that shouldn't go down my sink. I just rinse it out in an outside gravel pit under your hose bibs. You know, something like that is where you want to be. And then in here around my molding, kind of maneuver my tool in there. I don't like it as much around the moldings. I'm totally going to tell you, be the first to tell you guys that. There's not a lot of choice in there. And when I put the waxes on, this is all going to be shaded around here. So you're not going to see that as much. So I'm not super concerned about it. The grooves are just a little bit more, a little bit deeper. I can kind of brush over them a little bit and camouflage them.
Yes, Michelle, a little bit of sea spray went in the paint.
Yes, my paint is thickened. I would say it's just, it's not super thickened though. It's just thickened to like the consistency of what your paint would be if you've had it for a few months. It's not a brand new container, but it's not super thick either. And it's not chunky. That was not what I was after. I'm going to fix this spot right here I don't really like. I'm just going to give myself a little bit of paint and redo my texture right there.
You ever try using like a used toothbrush? Not my toothbrush.
Yeah. No, only brand new toothbrushes.
Toothbrush to get into those little areas?
You probably could. I would think the teeth might be kind of close together. Okay, so on a whole, my favorite is these drawers down here. This looks fantastic. I want to touch it. It's so textured. It looks, let's go ahead and do this down here now. This is my favorite. So I'd say a piece with wide open spaces. This piece even has minimal moldings on it. And it still is, you know, it's just really this applique right here. I'm going to work it out, guys. I always work it out.
Work it out.
Yeah, are you guys questioning me?
Nobody is. I value my life.
Yes, you do. Okay, so I even like this spot right here where I have a little bit of kind of chunkiness. Let me grab this burlap right here. Okay, so let's look at burlap. How it has like some little knots in the fabric, like some thicker areas in the texture itself. I'm trying to find a good spot. Oh, this one's good. See right here where it's got a thicker piece running through it? I don't know if you guys can see that, but it just goes along with the inconsistent weave and texture that is genuine to burlap. And I'm all about genuine. Or fake it till you make it, right?
I thought that's what we were doing.
That's my motto.
Yeah.
So spots where you want to have more of your dark wood peeking through, you can just put a little more pressure on your tool and it's going to pull it back a little bit more and give you a little bit more of that. In my case, I've got a coffee bean under here, but if you had dark wood, it would be your dark wood.
Thank you, Laura.
Is that a compliment to my painting?
Well, funny enough, I have Laura in each one now that I see.
Okay, so I really, really like how these drawers, like over here, it's starting to dry. I've got a few wet spots in here, and I can come back and touch some of the spots, and it's this nice. I mean, it feels like a woven texture to it. So I told you that we were gonna get low. We're gonna get low.
Come on now.
I know we're gonna get low. We're running out of time, so I've got to move on. I want to show you guys how I'm going to do these legs. Yes. Yay, I get to move cameras all around.
That's so exciting.
I'm going to put my lid on my sea spray mixture because I still need to come back and use this. And I'm going to put the lid on my pine cone. Let's come down and darken these legs. So now you kind of have a rough idea for how the front is going lighter. And I'll come finish all this area up.
Yes, Erin, it's the zoo ticket hotline.
Okay, so what I'm going to use on these legs is I'm going to use no paint gel stain. So you can use no paint gel stain over the top of an existing finish. So what I've done with these here is I've lightly sanded them and I cleaned them. They're ready to accept a new finish onto them. So I'm going to pop the lid off. This is no paint gel stain and it's espresso, which is the darkest brown that it comes in. And so what's going to happen here is my legs are going to be nice and dark, and then my top is going to be nice and dark. So the legs will tie in with a nice dark wood top. Hey, can you take your your sock off and hand it to me?
Yeah, hold on.
Just take your sock off. I just need a sock for putting this
everywhere.
For putting this stain on.
Oh.
Yeah, no, just take it off.
Here.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, that wasn't really the sock from his foot, you guys. Before you start thinking I'm a total jerk. Yeah, it came out of my rag pile.
I think it looks better now.
So I'm just going to use an old sock. If you're using no paint gel stain, you don't want to use your nice brushes with this. It's an oil-based product, so it doesn't clean out as well. It's going to take me 2, maybe even 3 coats of this to get full coverage on this, kind of amber wood color that I got here.
Erin, don't worry. Those parties still happen. He said if you ask for another piece of clothing, he's going to leave. Hello.
You guys don't know what goes on behind the scenes, okay?
Wait till you see the blooper reel.
No paint gel stain, you can build up the coverage of it. So when you initially put it on, it might be a little streaky and uneven. But once you get to the second coat, sometimes even the third coat, you get nice opaque coverage. So I'm just going to rub this on as evenly as I can and know that I'm going to need a second and possibly a third coat. I'm going to get up in here.
Yep, I'm just a bad poker player.
So you don't need to strip your furniture down to bare wood to use a gel stain over the top. It can be done over the top of an existing finish. I did not strip these legs. I just gave them a light scuff sanding just so they'll grip to my gel stain. And I'm just wiping it on over the existing factory finish.
Killing me, Smalls.
I'm sorry. It's what I do here. I'm going to get it into these crevices. I can't see the back of this as well. I'm not using a lot of pressure because I don't want to wipe it off just as fast as it goes on. Get it into these rings down here. And that's going to give me a nice darkened wood leg. And I did not need to sand into all of those crevices of that leg. So you're seeing the first coat go on. It's a little streaky, but it's going to even out. As long as they're even as I can get it. As I build up that coverage, it's going to cover that amber colored wood perfectly. So that's how I'm going to do the legs on this. So I'm going to have my burlap textured finish. I'm going to add some sunflowers in here, some waxes. It's all about building up the finishes. All my dark legs, my dark wood top, and then you'll start seeing this look come together. But this is where, let's see, is it dry enough? I can't quite run my hand over it, but I can feel that texture. I'll just give it, once it's dry.
Just gonna go in and take this off of it.
Yeah, give one good, really good shot of
Give
just the
YouTubers.
texture. Like, this is probably my favorite spot right here.
Some action.
So once this is dry, I'm going to take my Dixie Belle sanding sponge and I'm just going to lightly sand it. Not enough that I'm going to knock down all the texture because I didn't just make all that for nothing. But enough that it doesn't feel like I don't have jagged edges and, you know, nuggets of stuff falling off or anything. So I'll just lightly sand it. And then I'll take and give it my clear wax and my brown wax over the top. It's going to catch that texture really nicely. Okay, do you guys see where I'm going with this? It's in its, you know what?
Sorry,
I wonder,
I'm gonna snag on the other
I
camera.
wonder if the light, does that help? Come down here.
I'm all up on the other camera now.
Does that help not having the light on? I think it kind of does.
Let's go down to the, that's only gonna go so far now. There's the leg. Thank you.
Okay, so let me get in on the texture here. You guys see the inconsistency in the texture?
Here's the leg.
That's the texture in my paint finish. So you can kind of see how it's reminiscent of the burlap. And then here is my gel stain on the leg, which actually does probably need the light.
Yeah.
You guys always want the up close shots.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's the gel stain on the leg.
That's nice.
So it's darkened it. Back up a little bit. I can use a chip brush to get into those crevices there. It's darkened it, but I'm going to need more than one coat. It's a great texture, huh? It's so warm and then you can see the streaks of the pine cone kind of right in here. The little bit of darkness that came from the pine cone.
Up to it.
You can see the darkness that came from the coffee bean underneath. So all those colors make up. You love that close up. All right, you guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. You want to hold that?
What?
Hold that bad boy too. Okay, you can see where I'm going, but I love the texture on this here. If I want to fix any of this texture, I'm not super thrilled with this drawer right here. I'll be the first to admit it. I'll probably go back and redo that. But I love this right here. So definitely does better on a flatter surface. This is a challenge for me to work around. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this look. Like I said, I have a video on my YouTube channel of the next steps on this. So I have done this look before and I did work out the waxes and the shading and stuff on camera. If you go to my YouTube channel and search the word burlap, you'll come up. I think there's 2 videos on there actually. All right, you guys. So my name is Brandy. I'm with Brush by Brandy. If you don't already, I hope you'll follow me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. And I'll be back here next Thursday with you. If you guys want to purchase anything we used in the video tonight, there's a link in the post. And that would take you to the No Pain Gel Stain, the burlap paint we used, coffee bean and pine cone, and the Dixie Belle wood graining tool. So check those out too. You can also use that link to find a local retailer in your area if you want to go see these cool items in person. You guys have a great weekend. Have a great weekend. We are going for family photos this weekend. Sean loves family photos.
I have a face for radio.
It's time. I make him once a year go get family photos, and we do it at holiday time, so it's time. All right, I will see you guys next week. Have a good weekend.
You're gonna take that one?
Yes, I am.
All right. Bye, guys.